Sometimes life flips, literally, and nothing looks the same again. But in the middle of the wreckage, there can be moments of grace that spark transformation. In today's episode, we meet someone who faced a life-altering crash, unimaginable trauma, and yet somehow hope still found her. And it started with a mother's prayer. Welcome to the It's Your Story to Tell podcast, where we dive deep into stories of healing, breakthrough, and transformation. I'm your host, Megan Babcock, and today's guest is the courageous and inspiring Katie Matthews. Katie's story is one of strength, resilience, and the kind of faith that's born in the fire. From her days as a competitive basketball player to waking up in a neuro ICU after a devastating crash, Katie's life was changed in an instant. But it's not just the physical injury that sharpened her. It's what came after. Katie, thank you so much for being here with me. And it has been such an honor over the last little bit to get to know you and just feel like fast friends. So thanks so much for being here with us and being willing to share your story.
Well, thanks for having me. I feel the same way. It's like we connected in those people that you connect and you feel like you've known forever. So I appreciate this God friendship that we get to have too.
So why don't we start out with you sharing a little bit about your childhood, your passion for basketball, and kind of that chapter of your life before the accident.
Yeah. So I grew up with a mostly common family. Most of us have families with divorced parents. So that was my story. And so when my mom found new love, we moved around the country several times with my stepdad's job. All the merrier. I have 3 brothers, one of each kind, a step, a half, and a whole. I don't know if that made me so courageous being with only brothers, but it did. And it actually sparked my passion for sports. I learned that basketball was the one thing that was going to be with me at any school I attended. That was my constant. So I played basketball both for school, club basketball, and it was really the competitive desire within me that I believe would play a big role later in my story as well. But my family's incredible. Even though we're a broken family, we love each other, and I'm so grateful for all of them.
So basketball was something you spent a lot of time at, and not long before the accident, you had just received some recognition for your basketball.
Yeah, it was club ball, and I got player of the tournament. So it meant so much to me because it was the last tournament I'd ever play in.
Let's talk a little bit about the accident that forever changed your life.
Yeah. My friend, we were going to the basketball tournament, and she had just gotten her driver's license. And so we were both like, yes, newfound freedom, 16 on the road together. Chelsea would take me to school, everywhere around. And so we were going to the basketball tournament, and we were just so pumped. As I said before, it was the tournament that is my last tournament I'd ever play in. And so at the end of the tournament, we didn't want to go home. We just had the adrenaline going through us. We had won the championship. We're like, all right, we're not going home. So I called my mom and lied to her. I told her I'd be spending the night at Chelsea's house. And when I got her okay, we were making plans. We're like, all right, where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? Like, who's going to be at the party? And we didn't even know how to get to the party until we were about ready to pass the exit. I'd called a friend who was already there, and as he told us to take the exit we were about to pass, my friend Chelsea swerved to try and make the exit. She later told me she felt like the car was going to flip, so she overcorrected, and we did flip 4 times. We were so incredibly blessed because off-duty paramedics just happened to be going the opposite direction. If they would have been there 5 seconds earlier or 5 seconds later, I might not have lived. The man who ultimately saved our lives, his name is Jim, and I met him 15 years later. I'll share that story a little bit later, but he came to the car, and my friend Chelsea was just saying, she's not breathing, as I was slumped over in the passenger seat with only my seatbelt holding me up. 15 years after my accident, I got a message from Jim's daughter who said, hey, are you Katie Matthews, the one who is in Venice, Florida? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, my dad and I have been praying for you for the past 15 years. He's like, can he meet you? Of course. So we set up a Zoom call on Christmas Eve of all nights was the night we set it up. And we were both crying. And as he's telling me what he saw, he said, I was just slumped over. He asked his friend, who was also a paramedic that was with him. He said, is she 7? which is the code word for deceased. I wasn't breathing, so she took my pulse and said she's got a pulse. So they pulled me from the passenger side window, intubated me right then and there, and got me breathing again. He said when he lifted me into the helicopter, he'd been doing this for so long. He said usually he can get a sense if somebody's going to live or not, and he didn't have much hope for me. So after the helicopter flew away, he actually called the Christian radio station and asked for them to pray for Chelsea and I that night.
Wow, I just got so many Holy Spirit chills all over me that he would think in that moment, how can I make a difference in this? And he turned to prayer and getting the entire community to come before the Lord and pray for you and your friend. Wow, that is amazing. And not only did he save your life there, but those prayers God answered. Wow.
And that's exactly it. Like, it's prayer upon prayer upon prayer. My family and I weren't really the church-going family. We experienced God more in nature and being outside. And yet so many churchgoers came and supported us and prayed for us. And especially in the hospital, my mom got down on her knees and started praying. And just to see hope in the midst of hopelessness. When they took me to the ICU, my mom actually and Brian, my stepdad, had to drive past the car. When a police officer knocked on the door and said, your daughter's been in an accident. And he actually told my stepdad I might not make it through the night. So they were driving to the hospital, which was 63 miles away. And they drove past the car that Chelsea and I were in. And as they were driving, my mom was just trying to call to get to anybody. And they finally gave the phone to the chaplain. And he was the one who said, your daughter's in stable condition. Just get here, focus on getting here. And as they came into the hospital, my mom's like, my daughter's a minor. I need to see her.
What if your breakthrough wasn't found in striving, but in walking? What if clarity, healing, and direction came not in the hustle, but in quiet, intentional steps led by the Spirit? Sacred Pathways is a monthly walking mentorship designed to align your body, soul, and spirit with the wisdom of God. Each month, you'll receive 12 walking lessons. These are short teachings designed to be experienced on the move. You'll also get one live group session and access to a community of women committed to walking in purpose. This is more than a routine. It's a rhythm of renewal, a sacred invitation to process life with God, one step at a time. If you're hungry for deeper intimacy with the Lord, clarity in your calling, and healing that moves through your whole being, this is your path. Join Sacred Pathways and start walking in wisdom today. Now enrolling on itsyourstorytotell.com.
And a nurse came out and said, you can't see her right now. Your daughter's not in a stable condition, and we're just trying to keep her alive right now. So that's all that she could do. It didn't feel like much, she said, but it was the one thing that she clung to, was just being there in the waiting room, just praying.
So when did your mom get to see you? When did you wake up and realize like things were not the same?
Yeah. So I sustained a traumatic brain injury. I was in a coma for a couple weeks, as well as medically in the ICU for 5 weeks. The neurosurgeon, when I was in the coma, I actually told my mom that I had a spinal cord injury, a C6, C7 spinal cord injury, which means I can't use any muscles below my chest level or feel, including my hands and fingers. And with the brain injury, he asked my mom, he said, there's a good chance your daughter's going to be in a vegetative state for the rest of her life if she awakes from this coma. Do you want to take her off life support? And just that question, it was like a punch in her gut. She's like, what? She's 16. She asked if I was brain dead. And when he hesitantly said no, he says, you do everything you can to keep her alive. And I'm so grateful that he did, and God did, and prayers that came from people we didn't even know, just praying for us and guiding us. And I actually was medevaced to a specialty hospital in Denver, Colorado when I was stable enough. And that's where my family had to move with me. They had to put their lives on hold. And we spent 5 months at Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado, just helping me live with the traumatic brain injury. I couldn't remember one day to the next. I'd forgotten 3 years of my life. I didn't know why I was broken. I was mad at an all-powerful God for letting this happen to me. And it was a really hard time in my life where I just could not comprehend what was going on.
Yeah. I can't imagine. So, your mom, your stepdad, did your siblings come with you? Like everybody's here, or is it just you and your mom?
Yeah, well, it's my mom, my stepdad, and then I have a half brother who was only 6 months old at the time. So my
Oh
mom's a
my
new mom. I had no
goodness.
idea who this baby Carson was rolling or crawling around my hospital room every day. The moment I'd ask, "Who's this?" or "Why am I broken? Why can't I move?" I'd forget the answer just 5 minutes later. And my dad and my brother lived with my dad at the time. He was 13, and they would fly
Mm,
out any chance they got. It was just very disorienting for me, and I honestly believed I was in some form of hell. Like, I couldn't
yeah.
understand what was going on. I couldn't understand why I was broken. I actually thought that the doctors and nurses, all the things that they were giving me were making me broken like I was. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't take any medicine. I had a lot of IVs in me because of that. And I was convinced that once I returned home,
Mm.
once I got out of this hell, that everything would go back to normal.
I mean, I can't even imagine where you don't even have the memory of what life was like before to be able to even make sense of everything that was happening now. So it's like not only did you lose everything, but you lost memory of all of these things. How did your family help you come to a understanding of what was so disorienting?
Again, I'm so grateful for my family. So as I said before, like I'm like, all right, once I get out of this hospital, things will go back to normal. My body will be back to normal. I'll get back into real life. And that didn't happen. We actually had
Mm,
moved a couple months before my crash. So the house that we moved back to, I didn't recognize. So
mm,
what actually happened is my mom and my stepdad picked me up, put me into the car that they had, brought my manual wheelchair, and drove me past the house that I remembered. And it was at
mm,
that time, it's like a stamp of approval. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, this is my reality. This is my life. And in a way that really helped me
mm.
to be like, okay, now what? And that's
Right.
where my mom really came in. And she's the two conversations that really, really moved everything for me is she had a tough conversation with me where I was hopeless. And I was just like, why would a good and gracious God do this to me? Why am I alive? I had to have everybody do everything for me, from simplicities like getting something from the cupboard to eat, to opening a bag, to going to the bathroom, to getting in and out of bed. I couldn't do anything for
Mm,
myself. The enemy's lies were actually paralyzing me because they seemed so real. You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. What value do you think you have in this world if you don't have any value within your own
mm.
life? You're just a stumbling block for all those who love you. And those were the things that were paralyzing me most. And honestly, my mom came to me and she said, you have two choices in this life. You could have been dead. You could have died. But for some reason, you're still alive. You still have breath in your lungs, which at the hospital, my lungs were collapsed and blood was continually filling them. So God's breath in my lungs is a huge thing.
Mm,
And she said, you have the choice to either wallow within self-pity for the rest of your life and be paralyzed more than you are now, or you can give thanks for the life you still have and say, okay, what am I going to do now? I can let go of the past. I can let go of what I thought my life should be. And I can say, okay, what do you have for me, Lord? What is the future that you have? And there was another conversation where I didn't want to live anymore. I had just gotten done with high school, which high school was a great experience, very challenging, but it was wonderful. And after I got done with high school, all my friends were going off to college. And I was just sitting there thinking, that's my life. I was sitting there
mm.
useless, just watching my life be played out on the computer screen with all my friends going off to college. And I told my mom, she came to me again. She's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I don't want to live. I don't know why I'm living. I don't understand why I still have breath in my lungs. And we cried for a while. And she actually said, can we pray?
Are you tired of repeating the same patterns, feeling stuck in your story, and wondering if real change is even possible? In my new book, Unstuck, Break Free from What's Holding You Back and Create a Life You Love, I walk you through the path from survival to transformation, blending faith, neuroscience, and soul deep healing. This book, it's not just words on a page. It's a companion for your journey. Whether you've experienced trauma or just feel lost in the noise of life, Unstuck will meet you there with truth, compassion, and tools that actually work. It's time to stop surviving and start living your story with purpose. Grab your copy today on Amazon and let me know what you think.
And we hadn't been the praying family. She had, but I hadn't been because I'm like, God's not doing what I want him to. I don't know why he wants me like this. I feel betrayed by an all-powerful God. Why would I pray to him? And the prayer she prayed was simple, powerful, and raw. She grabbed my hands and she said, the first things that came out of her mouth were astonishing to me because they were of gratitude. And at that time in my life, I didn't see anything to be grateful for. I couldn't see any future before me because my focus was behind me and all that I had lost. And yet she said, thank you, Lord, for giving Katie breath in her lungs and the future before her. While we don't know the future that you have planned, please show in our hearts the future that you do. And she lifted me out of my chair, did the whole extensive to-dos to get a quadriplegic to bed. And it was at that time where I realized, like I said, my focus was on the past. It was like I had a dark gray veil blinding me from anything that was good in my life. My vision was so dim, so bleak. And that just that little bit of gratitude, knowing that my mom loved me, that she wanted the best for me, it was like a light shining through that dark gray veil. And even though I was mad at God still, that gratitude really felt good. And I'm like, I want to keep feeling this. And honestly, it was a chore. It took a lot of energy, a lot of work to find things to be grateful for within each day. And honestly, the more I did it, the easier it became. And it was incredible because the things that I was truly grateful for were the things that were all around me, that had been all around me. From simplicities like the warm Florida sunshine beaming down on my face to my family and friends being there with me. Instead of thinking of all the things that I couldn't do anymore, I was actually starting to think of all the blessings that were still in my life. And it really helped.
As you were talking, I was thinking from some of the mental health training and things that I have learned. And there's some skills called dialectical behavior skills. And these skills for me were really powerful because it allowed me to recognize that two things, two feelings can exist at the same time: gratitude and sorrow, joy and anger about something. I could only live in one side. So if I'm angry, I'm angry. I can't look at the other things. But the medicine for moving from that place is really opening up yourself to see those other really beautiful parts, because life is hard. Now, not everyone has your story of hard, but we've all walked through something that really kept us stuck, paralyzed in where we were at, unable to really move forward because we couldn't see any other way forward. And the other thing that really stood out about that conversation with your mom is another skill called radical acceptance. And I thought acceptance meant like I have to agree with it. Like I have to say, yes, I accept that I'm here and I'm happy about it. But that's not what acceptance is. It's about just, this is where I'm at. This is my reality. And for so long in my life, I didn't want to accept my reality, but I kept reliving it because I wouldn't acknowledge what it was. And it feels like in that moment where your mom was like, listen, you're going to have to accept this is where you're at. But from that place of acceptance, you get to make a choice on how you want to live this out. Right. And so, yes, you can be sad. Yes, you can be angry, but yes, you can have gratitude. And the more you embrace the gratitude, it made you appreciate the things that really were valuable in life. And it sounds like that really helped you start a journey. It's holding space for both of your feelings. Your mom allowed you to cry. She cried with you. And that's dialectical, right? Instead of using but, it's and.
Yes.
This and this can both be true at the same time. But
So
it gives you that little glimpse, that little break in the darkness that allows for perspective to maybe start to shift a little bit.
Yes. I love that so much because we are paralyzed without knowing that. And I think it's in Deuteronomy 25 or 30. It talks about God giving the Israelites the choice between life and death. between blessings and cursings. Now choose life. God is not our dictator. He's asking us to choose life and walk with him. But it's our choice. It's going to be like, okay, am I going to choose to wake up this morning and be grateful, even when things are hard? And, yeah, like what you said, and. So I love what you were talking about right there. Yes.
Well, I'm really excited. We're going to continue our conversation. And when we come back, you're going to share a little bit about how that gratitude just cracked open some light. You were starting to see some light through that gray veil. And I'm excited for listeners to hear more about your story and what you're doing. So thank you for being here with me. Come back, listen to part 2. Katie's story is raw, it's real, and I know it already left me and probably you with many moments of just feeling like, oh my goodness, how did someone go through that and sit here with us and sharing the story? But we're just getting started. The good part is coming, where we get to hear more about her journey of healing and purpose, and how God has shaped a new identity, not one of being paralyzed, but unparalyzed. Come back to part 2. You will not want to miss it.